Are you dreaming of visiting Switzerland? Planning a trip to Switzerland is very exciting, but it can also be overwhelming. How do you choose which of the many scenic cities, towns and villages to visit? Which mountaintop excursions should you take? And what's the best way to get around Switzerland? And of course, how much of the country can you realistically see within your time frame? If you've asked yourself any of these questions, this is the podcast for you. This is the Holidays to Switzerland travel podcast, and in each episode, your host Carolyn Schonnefinger chats with Swiss travel experts to answer your most commonly asked questions, provide practical tips, and take you on a virtual visit to the most popular destinations, and of course some hidden gems to help you plan your dream trip to Switzerland. And you'll hear plenty of conversations about Swiss cheese and chocolate too. Are you ready to plan your trip to Switzerland? Well, let's get started.
Hi there, welcome to episode 102. If you're planning on including the Bernese Oberland, which includes Interlaken and the Jungfrau region, in your Swiss vacation, you're probably planning to enjoy a mountain excursion or two. So how good would it be if you could visit more than 20 mountain summits for free? With the Berner Oberland Pass, that's exactly what you can do. The Berner Oberland Pass is my go-to pass whenever I visit the Bernese Oberland. Not only does it cover public transport in the region, that's trains, buses and boats, it also includes a huge number of free mountain excursions. And it gives you discounted admission to lots and lots of attractions and activities in the region. The Berner Oberland Pass covers a wide area, from Lucerne to Bern and as far south as Domodossola. And it's one of the most purchased Swiss rail passes from the Holidays to Switzerland webshop. You can get your Berner Oberland Pass at holidaystoswitzerland.com/shop. To tell us more about the Berner Oberland Pass and some of the fantastic but lesser-known excursions that the pass covers, today we're welcoming back Jana Amacher. Jana is the manager of the Berner Oberland Pass, and she appeared on episode 46 to tell us all about this fantastic transport and sightseeing pass. I'm thrilled to welcome her back today to learn more about some of those lesser-known excursions that the Berner Oberland Pass covers. Hello, Jana. Thank you very much for coming back onto the podcast.
Hi, Caroline. Thanks for having me again.
My pleasure. For those folks who haven't listened to your previous episode where you told us all about the Berner Oberland Pass, can you just give us a bit of an overview of the pass, just so people understand what we're actually talking about today?
Yes, of course. Well, the Berner Oberland Pass is actually like a train ticket or an all-in-one ticket because it gives you access to public transport throughout the Bernese Oberland. And you can choose whatever you like boats are included, trains, buses. And what makes us unique is that also mountain excursions within the Berner Oberland are included. It starts from Bern, Lucerne, Sannen and Domodossola, and we start from 3 days on up to 10 days.
Fantastic. So it's certainly a great area that is covered by the pass there. And I've used it many times and it's fantastic. I think a lot of people, when they're coming to the Berner Oberland and thinking about doing mountain excursions, they've probably heard of, I guess you say, the real famous ones, Jungfrau, Schilton, probably Grindelwald first. If anyone has Instagram, they would see lots and lots of pictures of those popular destinations. But really, there are so many mountain excursions in the Berner Oberland that people can use their pass to go and visit. So I wanted to chat to you today about a few of them that our listeners perhaps haven't heard of, but are definitely worth including. So the one I'd like to start with is Niederhorn. Could you tell us a bit about that, where it is in relation to Interlaken, what people can do there, how they get there, all that sort of info?
Yes, of course. I've been there 5 times, I think. So there are 2 ways to get there. you either take a bus from Interlaken Ost, which goes directly to the Beatenbucht, or you travel there by boat. So you have two ways. And what I most of the time do is I take like a round trip. So you have both ways covered. And it also depends on how much time you have. So you can do a round trip. And once you are there, or if you are here during summer, every Friday and Saturday evening, they have evening rides. So that's really special to do because the panoramic view is nice in the evening. And there are less people because not everyone knows about this product. So that's a great thing to do.
Yeah, so I think I've been to Niederhorn a couple of times myself. Actually, one time I was actually staying at Beatenberg and we went up there on the bus, and that's it's a very scenic ride, but it's very windy, isn't it? It's not your usual bus ride. So that was really interesting. But as you said, you can also get to the bottom station by boat. And if that's the case, you go up on a funicular to Beatenberg, don't you?
Exactly. Like the first part is the funicular, and where you started at Beatenberg, then you take the gondolas from there on. So like different parts. And I think every part is like really scenic. Also, you told about the bus ride. That's also a nice thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the things that stood out for me when I visited Niederhorn is that I wouldn't say it's underdeveloped, but it's certainly not. You don't have all the tourist attractions, I guess, that you do on those other mountains that we mentioned earlier. So you're there to appreciate the views, take in the surroundings, the beautiful nature. I think there's some animals there that you can be lucky enough to see ibex, or if my memory serves me. Yeah.
Did we see some? Because actually, of the 5 times I've been there, 3 times there were ibex. So I think quite often they're just up on the summit.
Okay, yeah, no, I wasn't lucky enough when I was visiting. There's some activities too that you can do there, aren't there, that are possibly a good option for people who maybe don't want to go to Grindelwald first and join the queues for the trotty bikes. You can also do that from Niederhorn.
Yes, you have scooters where you can rent. But also if you have smaller children, you'll find a playground or you have the restaurant. So I think you have many options beside of walking, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And is Niederhorn accessible all year round?
Yes, you can go there all year. Of course, they have some time when they close for maintaining, but in winter it offers opportunities for skiing, sledging and winter hiking or snowshoeing. So you can do all the things in winter as well.
Okay, excellent. So if someone was planning perhaps on doing that round trip that you mentioned, how long do you think they should allow for their excursion from Interlaken?
I would take at least half a day, but for example, you could also combine it with the Beatushöhlen, which is also on the bus line there, and then it takes a whole day. But of course, you can also spend the whole day on the Niederhorn itself. So it always depends what you like to do.
Sure. And the Beatushöhlen that you mentioned, that's the Beatus Caves, isn't it?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, so let's move on to Mount Niesen. This is a very iconically shaped mountain.
Yes, exactly. You go there by train from Interlaken. There's a train which goes to Müllenen. That's the station at the foot of the Niesen. And from there on, you take the Niesen funicular. That's a red little mountain train, I'd say. Also there you have a spectacular view. And yes, it's so iconic, you already told, because it's the Swiss pyramid. It has a iconic shape. Actually, if you are on the Niesen, you don't see this shape so good. But for example, before we were on the Niederhorn, and then you have a great view on the shape also from the lake on.
It's just like a big triangle, isn't it? Just sitting there and on the horizon. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And you always know which mountain it is. Actually, in Switzerland, people have apps on the phone to see which mountain is which mountain. But for Niesen, you never do that because you always know which one is Niesen.
Yes, sure. And there's a bit of an interesting story about the staircase that goes beside the funicular track, isn't there?
Yes, it's actually the longest staircase. And once a year, there's like a competition that takes place. So it would be worth to see the runners going up because it's quite exhausting.
Yeah, and I think there's something like 11,000 steps or something. So you'd want to do a bit of training before you did that event. What sort of things are there to do at the summit if people go up to Mount Neeson?
Once you arrive there, you will find a big platform with the views from like every corner. And of course, there's also a nice restaurant. And for those who want to explore a bit further, you'll find some hiking trails starting from there. And in the summer months, they have often cultural events and concerts in the restaurant. So I think that's quite nice to have. But of course, also for children, they have some things, but actually it's the view, which is the most important thing once you are up there.
I have been lucky enough to go to Neeson a couple of times, and sitting out on that beautiful sunny terrace, having a meal and looking over the views of both Lake Thun and Lake Brienz and all the mountains. It's amazing. Mount Neeson isn't open all year round, though, is it?
No, normally they start end of April and are open till beginning of November, but they always write on their website if the weather allows, it's even a bit longer. It always depends on the snow condition, as Neeson is quite high, so they need to see how long they can run the funicular.
Okay. And would you say that half a day again is enough for an excursion from Interlaken?
Yes, if you don't plan to hike, if you just go up, take a coffee at the restaurant, and then go back, half a day is enough. And then you could do something else in the afternoon.
Okay, excellent. Mount Stockhorn is another mountain that I'd like to ask you about. This is one that I haven't been to, so I'm really interested to hear what there is to do there and a bit more about it.
Oh, nice. You need to do this summer. Because it's actually quite nice. You take actually the train to Erlenbach im Simmental, and from there on there's 2 different gondolas for the first part, and then you're on the middle station, and then you take like the iconic little red one, which you see everyone on the internet. It's an old one, but it looks so nice, so I hope they don't renovate. And with this little one, you go to Stockhorn. Actually, you can also do a bungee jump from this little red gondola, but you can also just go up, so that's no problem.
I can tell you I will not be bungee jumping. What else is there? Is there any sort of activities or things apart from bungee jumping to do once you're at the summit?
Last summer, I went to Stockholm for a moonlight dinner. So in summer, if there is full moon, they have the moonlight dinner, which is worth it because actually it's once a month. So maybe you're lucky enough to see that. And you see then the sunset, which is quite nice. And on Stockholm itself, it's also like the view, which is amazing. And if you want to spend like a whole day, you better go to the middle station because there's the Hinterstockensee, and you can do many hikes, which are quite flat, so they're not too exhausting, but still it's a bit exhausting. So it's like perfect hiking conditions. And also on the middle station, you'll find playgrounds for children. You can just sit at the lake. So I think there are like more options to spend the day, and the Stockholm itself is more to enjoy something at the restaurant and have a great view.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. Definitely one I'll have to check out. I'll be there in summer as well as winter this year. So is Stockholm open all year round?
Yes, it's all year round. Of course, also here, sometimes they have maintaining works beside the season.
Okay. All right, so heading back in the other direction from Interlaken now, another mountain that I haven't been to is Alpentower. I think that's in the Hasleberg region. Is that right?
Yeah, that's really easy for me as I live in Meiringen. So I spend, like 5 or 6 times per summer and 5 to 6 times in winter. I'll go to Alpentower because it's actually like the highest point in my area. Mm-hmm. From Interlaken, you take the train to Meiringen, which is quite a nice train ride because you cross Lake Brienz. And then you take the gondola up to Alpentower. There are like different parts of gondolas because it's quite high, but it's all, so you just take gondola per gondola. So that's no problem at all.
Okay, so where you get out of one gondola, the next one's waiting.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. They're just like running all the time.
Yeah, it is Switzerland after all, so everything's beautifully synchronized.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is there to do at Alpentower?
So, for example, in summer, what locals do is having brunch there, because in summertime, every day they have a brunch buffet. And make sure to get a window seat, because you have a view on 401 mountain peaks.
Wow, 401.
Yes. There's also like a little platform where you can walk, and the paragliders, they start from there. So you can just have a look how they start. You see like Brienz. Or what I really like to do is you take a 3 to 4 hours hike to Lake Engstlen. That's a really nice mountain lake, and it's a nice hike because it's actually also flat. So it's a long hike, 3 to 4 hours, but it's actually worth because of the panoramic views.
Okay, and with that hike, is that a circular hike? Do you come back to the same point to go back down the mountain, or do you hike to a different gondola and go back down?
You take then the bus to go back to Meiringen.
Okay.
It's then like a round trip, and for this you need a whole day.
Okay. Good.
But if you're there with the family, I also recommend, as with Stockholm, you go a bit down to the other stations, because there you have like playgrounds and also many hiking trails, also themed hiking trails. So then it's better to go down instead of going up to the top.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that you also go there in winter, obviously apart from those times when the cable cars are having their annual maintenance, that it's open all year round.
Yes, exactly. And in winter you start skiing from Alpentower. But if you want to go winter hike or sledging, you start a bit lower. But actually what people do is they go up to Alpentower, have a look at the view, and then they go down with the gondola if they don't ski.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And if people are listening and thinking that they would like to try the brunch, do they need to reserve a table in advance generally?
I always recommend, because actually many local or Swiss people are there with big families. Mm-hmm. And if you reserve in advance, it's always best, because on the weekends they're quite booked, fully booked. And if you reserve, you can say that you want to have a window seat.
Okay. Very good to know. And I guess they can just reserve those or make that booking on the Alpentower website. Would that be the place to do it?
Yes, exactly. They have a phone number, an email, or just the mountain railways. It's all together.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so let's go back in the other direction now, back on the other side of Interlaken. Well, this lake is actually pretty famous. A lot of people do want to go there. It's all over the social media and the internet. Oceanensee. And it's reached by a cable car as well. So can you tell us a bit about the excursion to the beautiful Lake Oceanen?
Yes, I'd also say that's one of the more famous places you mentioned. And you take a train to Kandersteg, and also from there you have a short walk to the gondola station, and there are little gondolas running all the time.
Yeah. So once you get up to the top station, it's then another bit of a walk to the actual lake, isn't it? Can you tell us a bit about why this lake is so special for those people who haven't seen pictures of it?
I think it's just the color. It's like a turquoise, or it's really a special color. And when I've been there, I just took a really nice hiking trail above the lake, which is a bit exhausting because it's quite steep and sometimes a bit not dangerous, but you need to be a good walker and you shouldn't go there with bad shoes. Mm-hmm. But once you reach a certain height, the lake is even more beautiful.
Yeah, if you're there on a sunny day, it's the colour of it is amazing. I've actually been on a sunny day and on a cloudy day. And on the cloudy day, the colour wasn't quite so beautiful and turquoise, but it's still such a lovely, because it's just surrounded by the mountains. Yeah, really nice. We probably should mention to people that when they get up to that cable car station, it's about a 30-minute walk to the lake itself. But there is an electric bus that you can pay a fee to take to the lake if you want to.
Yeah, exactly, if you don't like to walk. But the walk, I think, if you take some time, then it's not too bad to walk. And
yeah, no, it's lovely. And in summer, those cows grazing in the fields as you walk past, it's really nice. What sort of things can you do once you get there? aside from hiking?
There, you can, for example, rent a boat and do some boat or rowing boats. There is also a mountain coaster, a restaurant, so you can easily spend the whole day there just doing different things.
And it's another mountain that's open during the winter as well, isn't it?
Yes, it's also accessible in winter.
Yeah, good. So there's plenty of options. Now, the final one that we'll chat about today, I haven't been there and I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, but I'll give it a crack. I'm going to say Sillerenboel.
Almost. Sillerenboel is located in Adelboden. First, you reach Adelboden by train and bus, and from there you take then the gondola up to Sillerenboel.
Okay, so where do you change from train to bus?
You change in Frutigen from train to a bus to Adelboden.
Okay, and what is there to do on the mountain?
Sillerenboel is quite nice for families actually, but of course also for all the other peoples. But actually they have a restaurant, and beside the restaurant they have a playground, even with a bouncy castle, and they have themed hiking trails, barbecue areas, and on rainy days you'll find an indoor playground. You have scooters. So as a family, you stay a bit to the main stations, and if you want to do some hiking as couples, you just go a bit further. So you can have everything.
Okay, so that's obviously a little bit further from Interlaken. Should you allow a full day for that excursion?
Yes, I'd recommend to do a full day because of the connecting times, but you could also do other things in once you are in Adelboden. Just make sure to do something there in the area. They have different gondolas, different hiking trails. Also, Adelboden as a town is quite nice. So, yeah.
Okay. And what about visiting Sillerenboel? Is that it?
Sillerenboel, yeah.
Sillerenboel, okay. Is it accessible in winter?
Yes, it's accessible in winter. Like the whole area in Adelboden is also winter destination for skiing, winter hiking, sledging. Also quite nice.
Okay, fantastic. Well, there's 6 alternative excursions that people might like to try when they're in the Bernese Oberland. So if they have the pass, the Berner Oberland Pass, how many mountain excursions are fully covered with it this year?
When it goes about mountain excursions, we have 27 which are fully covered.
Wow, that's fantastic. And how many are discounted?
18 are discounted. Most of the time you get half price. Okay. And sometimes like a special rate, but most of the times it's really half price.
Yeah. If you're in the region for 3 or 4 days, there's just so many different excursions that you can choose from. And if you come back every year, you can try different ones all the time.
And I did not even count like trains or buses. Sometimes if you go with the bus to Grosse Scheidegg, that's like a mountain excursions as well. But I just count like mountain excursion as gondolas or funiculars.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Then they're even more.
Absolutely. And the pass also gives people that have one discounted admissions too, doesn't it? Just lots of different attractions.
Yes, we have many partners. Like the biggest one is Aare-Schlucht or Ballenberg, Outdoor Interlaken. So like on every spot in the Berner Oberland, you get some discounts. We talked about the Beatus Caves. You just show your pass at the entrance and then you get the discount. Sometimes you can also write an email to them, but normally it's not usable online to buy a ticket. I get many emails to ask where is the Berner Oberland Pass discount. So that's not really digital at the moment.
Okay. So if someone has the pass, which they've purchased when they get there or before they've travelled, and they go up to one of those places that are giving them a discounted admission, they just show their pass at the ticket office and they'll pay the discounted price.
Exactly. But for example, for Outdoor Interlaken, they have like different things, and then you can also write an email so that you can still buy the ticket in advance when it can be sold out.
Okay. So what if someone has the pass and they want to do one of those free mountain excursions? What happens when they get to, let's say, the bottom cable car station?
This always depends a bit. For example, I always recommend to buy the pass online in advance because then you have a QR code on the pass. Because if you buy it at the train station when you are in Switzerland, it's the same price. So it's not more expensive or cheaper, but there is like no QR code. And with the QR code on most of the mountain excursion, you can just scan the ticket, like in the Jungfrau region with all the Jungfrau activities or the Lake Oschinensee. You can just put your ticket inside the counter. Or for Niesen, you just go there and show it to the staff and they just let you through the queue. And there are some places where you need to go to the counter and change for a free ticket.
Okay, yeah. So, as you say, it depends a little bit on the destination that you're going to. So, apart from all those fantastic inclusions that the pass gives people, what would you say are the main benefits of the Berner Oberland Pass?
So in order to get most of your money, it's just the mountain excursions, because that's the thing which is it's expensive in Switzerland. So if you really want to make most of the pass, just use many mountain excursions. For example, you can also do one in the morning, one in the evening. And I think like the biggest advantage is you never know how the weather is. So you can always choose, okay, I'm going to do Oschinensee and then tomorrow I go to Beatus Caves because it's raining. So you're 100% flexible always, all the time.
Yeah. And I think too, you're flexible, of course, but if you go and you do one of the excursions and you've got a bit more time, you can then quickly decide we'll go and do something else. We'll go and visit somewhere else that we hadn't originally thought about because it's already included with the pass. So that might be a boat cruise or it might be just a train journey to another town just to have a look around. But you've got that flexibility and so many excursions and places to visit that are covered.
Yeah, that's really fantastic.
So can you tell us again what durations the pass is available in?
We have 3, 4, 6, 8, and 10 executive days. Like 3 years ago, we had a flex version, but this is no longer available because it was always a bit tricky to activate the days, actually.
Okay.
So at the moment, it's
days.
executed. Yes, exactly.
Okay. And people can get the pass in both first and second class.
Yes. If you do many mountain excursions, I'd recommend to buy second class. Because for gondolas, you just have one class. Of course, it's first class, but you only need the second class ticket. And if you plan to use many trains to go to Montreux, to Domodossola, Bern, Lucerne, then I go for first class because actually if you take the Lucerne Interlaken Express, which is included in the pass, then first class is really worth the money.
Yeah. And another great trip that people can do with the pass, although they can't do the entire journey, is on the Golden Pass line between Interlaken as far as Saanen, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And then from Saanen to Montreux, you only need half a ticket. So there you get like a special price.
Yeah. Fantastic. So many great options. You mentioned just before that you recommend that people buy their pass online before they travel so that they get that QR code. So the pass is sent, via email, and then you can download the PDF onto your phone. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. And the pass is available with Caroline, so with you, on Holidays to Switzerland. And also if you buy the pass there on Holidays to Switzerland, you will get the QR code and you will have your e-ticket, which is the best way to get there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for sharing all that with us today. I think you've given so many other options that people can consider perhaps not doing only the famous excursions that they've heard about, but looking at visiting some of the other mountains as well. And of course, we've just covered a few and there are so many. So there is a list on your website and also on Holidays to Switzerland about all the different mountain excursions that are covered with the pass. I'll put links to both those websites in the show notes for this episode. And we will have to have you back, Jana, to talk more about using the pass during the winter season, now that this being the first year that the pass is available all year round. So I look forward to chatting to you a bit later in the year.
Yeah, me too. Thank you again for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for sharing all that with us today. Are you going to include one of the mountain excursions we've chatted about today in your Swiss itinerary? The Berner Oberland Pass gives you not only flexibility, but also variety. And you can save a considerable amount of money on your sightseeing, thanks to it including over 25 mountain excursions for free. Your hardest decision will be which mountain excursions to choose. If you'd like to see a list of all the mountain excursions that are fully included with the pass and which excursions, attractions and activities are discounted, check out the show notes for this episode. Don't forget that all public transport in the Bernese Oberland is included for free too, making this pass excellent value for anyone visiting the region. You can buy your Berner Oberland Pass from our webshop at holidaystoswitzerland.com/shop. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoy the podcast, I'd be very grateful if you could spare a minute or two to leave a 5-star rating or a review on your favourite podcast app. Thanks so much. Until next time, tschüss!